Victor Wembanyama is the most hyped up basketball prospect in the last 20 years.
19 years old from France, he's 7'4" with an 8-foot wingspan, and he's unlike any player on a basketball floor that we have ever seen.
He's a freak of nature who can do incredible things with a basketball. And most people who know the game say he will probably go down as one of the best basketball players of all time, joining a privileged circle of greats like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Kobe Bryant. Now, given how good he is, every single franchise in the NBA would love to get Wembanyama. But as it turns out, only one team gets the right to select him as the number one pick in the draft. Because that's how the NBA works. The NBA draft is a carefully designed system to bring new talent into the league in a very structured process. But why does it exist? Why isn't it a free-for-all where any team in the NBA could convince Wembanyama to join them rather than just one team having the right to pick him? The NBA draft itself is a pretty simple system. There are 2 rounds and each of the 30 players in the league is awarded a pick to select at least one player in each round. So fundamentally, it's a process that allows the NBA teams to select new players to their rosters. That's a quick and dirty explanation of the NBA draft itself. But to the bigger question, why does it exist? Why is there a structured system to acquire new players and bring new talent into the league? And the answer is rooted in one word. No, actually 2 words. Fairness and balance. The NBA is a closed league with 30 franchises competing every year. Unlike in European sports like football, there is no relegation or promotion in the NBA. The teams in the league do not change, so it's the same teams every year. And as with all things, when you have 30 teams competing against each other, some tend to become better than others, and the NBA draft system exists to ensure that there is fairness and balance as the teams evolve. Now imagine an alternate reality where the NBA had a free-for-all system, where any franchise could convince any young talent to play for them. What would most likely happen is that the best young players would typically only choose to play for the best franchises with the best legends and of course the best records. The NBA drafts exist precisely to ensure that alternate reality never happens. Because with the NBA draft, instead of the best young players going to the best teams, they are actually more likely to end up on the worst teams in the league. Now your first thought is probably that this system is weird and broken because in most other sports in the world, the best young players are more likely to end up on the best teams, not the worst teams. In European football, for example, where a free-for-all system obviously exists, Real Madrid, one of the best teams in the world, have literally just spent $100 million to sign a 19-year-old who's regarded as one of the best young players in the game. But the NBA draft exists to prevent that from happening. And it's all about how it's structured. The franchises that have the best record in a season will have lower picks in the NBA draft, while the franchises that have the worst records will have higher picks. In the past, the NBA had a simple bottom-to-up order where the team with the worst record automatically gets the number 1 pick. But that system was flawed because given how valuable the number 1 pick can be, teams intentionally lost games to ensure they ended the season with a horrible record just so they could get the number 1 pick. And so to retain the idea of balance and fairness, the NBA proposed the draft lottery system in 1985, which tweaked things a bit and ensured that teams wouldn't purposely lose games just so they could get the number 1 draft. Instead, the number 1 draft is awarded at random to one of the worst teams in the league rather than to the outright worst team. So today, typically the 16 teams that make the NBA playoffs in the season will be awarded the picks from 15 to 30 in the NBA draft, which means the reward for having a good season and making the playoffs is missing out on the top 15 players in the NBA draft. And the reward for winning the NBA and becoming champions is getting the 30th and last pick in the first round. And this works in reverse as well, because the worse a team's record is, the higher their draft pick will be. And under the draft lottery system, the 3 teams with the worst regular season records will each have a 14% chance of winning the number 1 pick. Now the whole point of this is to ensure that the NBA stays competitive and that bad teams get the best talented young players so they can at least attempt to level the playing field. And this is vital for the survival of the NBA itself, because ensuring that the best performing teams in the league aren't accumulating the best young talent means the league can be set up to stay competitive and young talent won't be teaming up with legendary players and major franchises by default. Now, to be clear, despite the NBA draft system, super teams of course can and have come together in the NBA, thanks to the possibility of free agent signings and blockbuster trades. But fundamentally, the NBA draft does its job and ensures that underperforming teams in the league can actually get a shot at getting the best young players and building franchise teams around them. And this year we see that system working to full effect. Because after failing to make the playoffs in the last 4 seasons and winning only 20 of 82 games last season, the San Antonio Spurs will rebuild their franchise with the number 1 pick by drafting Victor Wembanyama, one of the most hyped basketball prospects of all time. Now, is the system perfect? No, because the best teams can actually offer terms to trade and land the number 1 pick, like the Lakers did in the 1979 draft when they selected Magic Johnson and paired him with the legendary Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But fundamentally, in its purest form, the NBA draft exists to ensure that even the bad teams in the league can stand a chance, and to ensure that the NBA itself stays competitive. The goal is to make sure that the NBA is as balanced as possible. Now, of course, it's not a perfect system, but it's beautiful when it works.
Means that the number 1 pick in the 2023 NBA draft goes to the San Antonio Spurs.
The San Antonio Spurs walk away with the first overall pick in the 2023 draft. Their first number 1 pick since 1997 and Tim Duncan.
Man, just through the moon. I can't believe it. Just our fans deserve it. Brian deserves it. Our whole front office, man, we have so much talent. The players, our crew, our people are so deserving. Our fans stuck with us. It's going to be unbelievable. Our future was already bright. Now it's going to be through the moon.